What's that? We're floating some mud on the walls. We're floating some mud on the floors. Yes, thick beds. Thick bed installations. Okay.
Good afternoon, everybody. Can you hear me? I'm not sure how it goes. So, hi. Welcome to the NTCA's presentation of the thick bed method. My name is Chad Jones. This is Rob Roderick. We're at the National Tile Council, National Tile Contractors Association. Got it right that time.
Nicely done. Yeah.
We're using the NTCA's reference manual. It's going to be on Chapter 4, thick bed installations. We're using that as our guideline. I don't know if you can get that. Got it? All right, good. First thing that we're going to do is check our substrate. This is flat and sound substrate. We've put down a felt tar paper, and then we've lapped it, overlapping the tar paper in shingle, starting at the bottom, at least overlapping by 2 inches. This is plenty more than that. And then the lap we've overlapped also. And this is, I think it's 25 pounds per square yard lap or greater.
2.5 pounds.
Is it 2.5?
Yes,
okay.
2.5 pounds.
Or 15, what is the lap?
15-pound roofing felt.
The roofing felt. And
yeah.
It's also fastened with galvanized nails to prevent rust.
Yeah.
Okay, so first thing we're going to do is we're going to scratch coat it.
We're going to wet this board down for you.
Go ahead and wet it. We're going to wet the board so that no moisture gets pulled out of our material into the board. Also, if our substrate was porous, we'd want to put moisture to the substrate so that it doesn't pull moisture out of our material also. Got it?
Give me your trowel there. Scoop some out of there for me. There you go. We got a bunch of mud. All right. So the tools he's got here is he's just using a flat trowel and a hock. You can see he's done that before. We're lucky to have Chad. He's got a lot of great experience. He's been in the tile industry for a long time and worked in the California area.
I'm going to start at the bottom and work my way up. And then notice I'm not picking little scoops off of the hawk. I'm actually using the hawk as a means to get it onto my trowel. Using my whole body, legs, back, the whole thing to get it on there. Not bending down, doing that method. What was our minimum thickness on this? I think it was... It was a half inch?
Yeah, actually, this manufacturer will let you do less. We can do these site mixes with ratios of sand and lime and cement. And we have those ratios in our ntca reference manual. This is a pre-mixed product. And with this pre-mixed product, we can go beyond what's usually recommended with a site mix.
Try not to get my cords up there. I'll probably stop a little bit short. Can you load me up with probably about a quarter?
Quarter of a bucket. Yes, sir. Do that over for me.
That's fine.
You like it?
I like it.
I like it.
Slide around a little bit. So first thing I'm doing is basically skimming it in. I'm going to hit any spots that I don't have any material on. Try not to fall off the stage here. Looks pretty decent. And then I'm going to apply a coat that we can scratch so that the next time, after at least 24 hours, we can apply our final brown coat on top of that. Maybe a little bit more.
Okay, we got it. We got plenty. That board.
Trying to go for a uniform thickness here. It's actually a pretty sticky material. It's got fibers in it. All right. So now that we've done that, basically we take this rake, and I'm going to rake it horizontally so that the next day it will grab into those grooves that I'm going to make, just like you would see on a notch trowel, basically a gauge sprig. See how those grooves are forming? This material is very sticky, so it doesn't like to go through. I don't know, you can't see from up there, but there's fiber reinforcement all the way through this. There we go. There we go. So basically now we have our raked base that we can put our mud on after that. Like I said before, at least 24 hours of dry time before you go on that. But through the magic of covering, we're going to flip this around and it'll be 24 hours afterwards.
Hang on just a second. Magic. Yeah, it is magical. Up here.
It might actually still take us 24 hours to flip this around.
What'd he say?
You didn't hear it. It's okay.
All right. All right.
Which
way are you going? Lots loose.
And
let's back it up a little bit. There you go.
Is that about it?
Tar papers right here. All right.
I've already scratched this one probably not 2 days ago, and then I added one float strip in it just to kind of save us time. I'm going to show how to put that float strip in there. If you've floated on the floors, you put a spots, then you'll connect those spots, then you'll screed over those spots. This is that same thing. We've applied mortar and then went off of that, putting our strips in. I'll show you that. Where's the SSD? Just like I was saying before, any material that's going to pull moisture from our mortar, we want to give it that drink before we apply the mortar so that it doesn't weaken it. Pulling moisture out of there would not be good for our material.
Let's get this out of the way. Oops, there goes the sign.
Try not to get you guys wet over there. If you were on a big job, like a gang shower or whatnot, you would actually take a hose and just hose down everything. A water hose. It's all good. My hand's going to be all burnt out by the time I'm done with this. Alright. So now what we're going to do is set one of those float strips just like I have here, but on the other side. I've already got it cut down, and how dry is it?
It's very dry.
So we're going to wet this down also, because if we put that in there just like this, it'll pull moisture from our material, and also it'll be pretty darn hard to get out of there because it's going to stick like crazy. I'm going to go ahead and wet that down. I'm going to let Rob comment a little bit while I do this.
Yeah. So this is kind of a dying art, and it's not done as much as it was in the past. This was the way we did all tile installations before latex modification, pretty much, just sand and cement mixtures. This is different because we have lime on the wall. We'll do deck mud after this, doing some installations on the floor, just using cement and sand.
Same thing like I did on the other side. I'm going to want to key it in or burn it in so that it attaches first. Then I'm going to go ahead and build it out so that I can put that wood strip in there and go level that out too.
So he's going to set his float strips. We've got a level set up here. I'm just going to describe what's going to happen. We've got a level and a mallet. And he's going to use this level once he gets him a place to set that float strip, and he's going to tap it in and set it plumb. And once he does that, he's going to have some good solid areas where he can screed off this in-between area. All right? Use the mallet.
Kind of gets a little suction.
There it is.
How can you mix that with the bucket if you need it?
I'll try to make it work.
So another thing, question. Say again?
What does this have to do with tile installation?
Okay, great question. I'm glad you asked
Great
that.
question.
Basically, there's standards for how flat a surface should be before we put tile on it. And when we come to an area where that doesn't meet that standard, I'll just give you two of them. For large format tile, if you're not familiar with what a large format tile, that's any tile that has one side that's 15 inches or longer. Our standards say that surface shouldn't have any deviation of more than 1/8 of an inch in 10 foot. And if we're using smaller tiles, we can have a little bit more, 1/4 of an inch in 10. But most of the places that we're going to be, we're not going to have that flat of a substrate. So this is a terrific way to make a really flat surface before we start tiling.
And plumb. So
and
this is
plumb.
one of the best ways to do it.
And even square. Another part of this too is because we can build that material out a little bit. If he sets the bottom of that float strip in the right place, if we got a room that's a little bit out of square, he can now square up that room a little bit.
What does this have to do with the layout?
It could really help
That wasn't a
layout.
setup, right? That was an actual question too. So we didn't pay her anything to do that.
We'll have to give her $5 because that was a great.
So now I'm going to embed it into the mortar. Basically, I put in more than I need.
Takes too much to have enough.
Yep.
Yep.
And I'm going to take the level. I'm going to start beating it in a little bit till I can get it perfectly plumb. More. A little bit more on the bottom. My level isn't quite as long as the strip, so I have to kind of go up and down a little bit to kind of keep on checking to make sure I haven't put a bow in the wall. That would defeat the purpose of floating it anyways. Now, all I have to do is basically cut this away, and I have my edge to float the wall on. And then I pretty much do just like we do on floors.
Yeah, so everything he's going to do now
Fill
is
in all that.
Fill in between those 2 points. And he's going to use those float strips as his guide as he takes his straight edge up. He's going to be cutting off that excessive mud that's above those float strips, giving you a good flat surface.
If you were doing a bigger job, you'd want to set a couple of these, let it set up a little bit so that it doesn't push in when you're screeding across it. Unfortunately, coverings doesn't have that magic. Now I'm going to do is I'm going to re-wet this. If you see that there's some pretty dry spots inside that, that's going to pull that moisture out of there. So I'm going to go ahead and SSD it again. Surface saturated dry.
Yeah, so basically, question.
Yeah, how does this aid the layout for tile? Does this have anything to do with layout?
Totally can. I was trying to explain that earlier. So basically, if we've got a room that's a little bit out of square, because we can build this material out a significant amount, we can correct that.
Especially if you had smaller tiles. Say you had 1 by 1 or 2 by 2, you can actually build the walls out so that you can have full tile, full tile, full tile, full tile. You would lay out a square on the floor, square the floor, and then pull approximately like 8 to 10 inches from that square line. Start at the bottom, find your level point from there, 8 to 10 inches, and then level up this piece right there. And then you can basically have a full tile room.
Yeah, nice and square. Did that answer your question? All right.
How am I doing on time? Am I eating on you?
I think you're doing pretty good. Oh, you're doing great. Say again? Yes.
It would
Okay,
be
so this is
1 part cement, half part lime, up to 5 parts sand, or you can go up to 1 part cement, 1 part lime, 7 parts sand. So there's a variance in there about how much you want it to be sticky and the consistency of it. In the pre-bag stuff, we don't have to worry about that. They've already got that figured out.
Yeah, so this is all pre-mixed product. We got an example of the bag over here.
All right. So I'm pretty much done with that now. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to screed it in, burning it into that wall, into those fibers, into those grooves, making a good connection.
Ooh. Is that drying out on you there? We may have some other stuff here. Let's see what we got. Well, that might be it.
Mark's coming. It'll work.
He's going to make it work. Oh, we got some fresh stuff here. Well,
what's that?
Some of this.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead. And this is going to pour off if we put too much on there.
Yeah, hang on to that just for a second. I'm going to clear this off. That's one thing. These pre-mix can go off pretty quickly. Especially when you're mixing it and having it ready for your audience. Good Lord, yeah, that'd be hard to work with right there. We got some.
No,
that's a great question. We always want to follow the manufacturer's guidelines. One thing I'll say is these manufacturers, they have tested their products over and over again. And if we want to have a successful installation, we need to make sure we fall into the confines of the amount of water that they want you to use.
Yeah, and you may be able to remix it, but not adding more water. I would check with the manufacturer, but they're all pretty much don't add any more afterwards. Go ahead and remix it. Some might allow that.
I think you're going to like this stuff. I think you're going to be happy with this, Chad. It's Mark's special recipe.
I'm running away here. The stage is going to be nice.
Oh, yeah.
Ready for whoever's next.
Okay, you need a straight edge before long.
I got it just on the other side.
Yes, sir. Question. Say again? Yeah, I know it. He's being nice. Yeah.
What's that when you're yelling at people? Mud, mud!
Yeah.
Well, it's pretty rough when it's when you're running out and you're trying to get it finished. I'm going to need more. Yeah, go ahead.
Question right here. Yeah. Well, you can also go over some great questions. Yeah, the question is, does it always have to go over metal lath? And the answer is no. Some things you want to think about if you had like concrete or concrete block, you want to think about sealers that could be on there ahead of time, and you may need to open up that pore structure, scarify it, get it prepared. Especially something that was preformed, like a concrete wall, would require that shot blast or something to make sure you get good
not
bond.
painted or anything like that.
But no, you do not have to. You do not have to have the lath. This is more for a wood frame installation, studs. So if you've got pre-existing concrete block, you can go directly over that. Great question.
I'm going to go ahead and screed it off now. You might see lower spots, and that's just how I know that I need a little bit more mud in those locations.
So he's got his 2 points that he set.
Can I get an empty bucket?
Empty bucket. Yes, sir. We've got that somewhere. Hang on just a second. All right. This is somewhat empty.
So all of these spots right here I skimmed over need more mud inside them. You can see that this is nice and uniform right here. That's going to be nice and flat for us. You want to take a picture real quick? Boom! Too quick.
Okay, so back, I think we answered that question. All right.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I'm not good at talking and working, so...
All right, I think he's good at it. He's got some skills. You're making me proud.
A couple more here.
That's a lot better than the last stuff you got.
All right, so once more. screed this. If you need to, you can go with a little bit of side-to-side action. All right, there we go. Now what you would want to do, set a couple of these and then go back afterwards. And can I get a margin trowel?
Margin trowel.
Right
yes,
over
sir.
there.
No.
In the corner.
Okay, gotcha.
And before it sets up, unlike this side,
Mark.
do a little bit of a cut on either side. And just kind of twist it out. And then you would fill this up.
Sorry about that.
To finish this up and stick it to the floor.
What's that?
10 minutes left.
Okay, I need to get going, but basically you just fill that in like that, and then you would take a wood float and float that out, smoothing this all out. So that's pretty much it for floating. I need to move on to floors, so we're going to spin this thing around.
All right. This carpet, wood. All right, let's take these locks off.
Are we on the other side?
This one's locked, I think. Hang on just a second. No, it's loose. It's getting heavier. Oh, I'll get you.
I don't know why it's getting heavier.
Can't put your hand in that now.
We'll give Rob a little bit more room than I had. No reason.
Yeah, that sounds like a fat joke, didn't it? Anybody catch that? Okay, guys, we're going to talk about doing some deck mud here. This is a little bit different, and we've got some methods in our industry for doing recess showers and using a topical waterproofing, surface applied waterproofing. And this is a B422C that you could find in the TCNA handbook. If you're not familiar with the TCNA handbook, you guys should have them. They have great methods in there. This is kind of a replica of that.
There'll be a zero entry going down to a drain.
Yeah, the C is for the curbless. So basically, this is a pretty easy setup here. With the deck mud, it's a lot drier. When we make it,
the cleavage membrane on there yet.
Yeah, can you get that for me? So when we make this deck mud, it's just basically 4 parts sand and 1 part cement. And we just want to add enough moisture, it says, for maximum compaction. The test, kind of the field test that's generally accepted, is to be able to make a ball. And when we make that ball, no water comes out, so it's really dry. And also when we throw it in the air, it holds that ball, but when it hits my hand, it breaks open. So we know it's not too wet or dry. Some of those simple tests. Now we're putting down a cleavage membrane over this concrete. We got a couple of different options. We could do a bonded system where we could do a slurry coat of cement or thin set and put that down and then throw our mud on top of it, or we can do an unbonded system.
And if this was over 64 square feet, I believe it is, then we would have to put some type of a wire inside of that, like a 2x2 welded wire, in order to hold that together.
Exactly right. So in a shower enclosure, they're usually under 64 square feet. Do we have a flat trowel?
Yes.
Right here.
Oh, that's all right. Okay, dump that out along that wall there.
Yeah.
Now, in the same way that he set those screeds, those sticks that he used to pull off those 2 points, we have 2 fixed points here. So this is going to be really easy. We've got a drain that we can pull off of, and we got our floor height that we can pull off of. But in a real-world situation, we would have to get elevation points off of this height around the perimeter. We want it to be nice and level around the perimeter. Now, because it's a shower, we have to have a sloped area. We need to have at least 1/4 of an inch per foot drop, and no more than 1/2 of an inch per foot.
Unless it's ADA, then it's a maximum of 1/4 of an inch per foot drop.
Yeah. So what I'm going to do here, and you can see how dry this is I'm going to put too much material up here, and I'm going to compact it. It's real important that when I compact it, that gives us a lot of compressive strength, but I want to set my mud up in a way that it's much higher than what I really need in order to get some good compaction. Some of the testing...
The compaction is when it gets its strength. If you just throw it in there loose, it's not going to get the strength it needs. You really need to put some effort into it to compact it. If you go too thick, if you go too much of an overfill, you're not going to get the proper amount of compaction also. You kind of want to be in that sweet spot of just a little bit over.
Yeah. And when you set your perimeter screeds, you want to pack those a little bit harder because you're going to end up taking this straight edge across it, and you don't want to dig into those perimeter screeds. Now, if you guys can see, I'm a little bit above my point that I need to hit here, and pretty much the whole way down, I'm a little bit above it. Can I have just a little bit more mud? Let's throw some more in here. I could probably, right in here. Now, one important part, if we're going to kind of connect these mud together and throw a low spot, no, that's perfect, thank you. You done that before?
Once or twice.
Okay. Okay, so basically I've got my straight edge, I got my 2 points. All I'm going to do is I'm just going to drag this across, taking the excess off until I hit where I want to be. And you want to stay in touch with the edge of the straight edge. And what I mean by that is you're looking for places that might be low. I'm just using a seesawing motion. You can see I'm still high. Got a lot there. Okay, give me that trowel. Get some of this out of the way.
We've got about 5 minutes left, Rob.
Okay. I'll get on to here. All right, you see I'm way high here. I'm going to keep going. Perfect there, I think.
And we would take the tile from this flat surface directly down into the drain. There wouldn't be a curb or anything to step over, or a threshold or anything like that. It would just go zero right into it. Pretty much just like I did with the side, he's going to go between those 2 points, doing a little seesaw zigzag motion in order to make it flat. And then he's going to take the trowel to take a little bit of extra off of the wall there.
Okay.
There we go.
Let's move this so I can see what's going on here.
All right.
So we're going to just cut this right off the edge here. All right. You're helping me out. Thank you. Well, we won't be able to go quite to the edge. We'll just cut it off right about here so you can see. Now, what I want to do is I brought my straight edge in a couple inches off the wall and worked it over to the wall. Once I get enough of a place to use my trowel, I can just bring it over and cut it off square and get rid of that excess. But as you're going along, you always want to put your straight edge, throw that on there and kind of check and see how you're doing. See, that's coming along pretty good. I'm going to cut this edge off. How much time do we got?
Probably zero.
Okay, hand me that. Okay,
So you would take the wood float, smooth that out, and then the flat trowel, their steel float, one more time to go ahead and make that nice and smooth on the top of it. Then you can apply your membranes and whatnot. Tomorrow, actually morning, we're going to be applying liquid membranes, I think on the other side, or is it on this side? We're going to be membraning a whole bunch. We're going to be using peel and stick. We're going to be the rollout and the fabric and the membrane, the liquid applied membrane. So come by tomorrow. I'm not positive the time, but you can see us in the NTCA booth. I think we're 28. What was that number again? 2862. We'll have any answers, or we can find any answers if you have any questions.
All right, we out of time?
Yeah, I think so.
All right, guys, first off, thank you so much for being here. Appreciate it. Stay with us all this week.
This is Rob Roderick, and our helper behind the scenes was Mark Heinlein.
Yeah. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys.